So buckle up, people, and enjoy another episode of Shut Up and Listen
Small Town Stories
with Sarah
and Renee. Welcome to Behind the Scenes, Matt.
Thank you.
This is how it goes. I told you, it's very relaxed. It's very informal. So today we have with us Matt Kibler, who wears multiple different hats. But we got to know Matt over the last few years with your work with Northwest State and Custom Training Solutions. So welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Sarah.
Well, back up. We got to know Matt. I got to know Matt when you worked for the Boy Scouts.
That's true.
And then he worked for Northwest State. Then he came and worked with us at the Learning Center.
Yes.
Then abandoned us
But survived.
to go back to Northwest State.
But survive. You still come back. You're here a lot.
I am. So it's been an interesting journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's start by, so what is your current role? What do you currently do for Northwest State and Custom Training Solutions?
So I'm the Director of Business Development for CTS, Custom Training Solutions. In that role, I generally cover the eastern half, if you will, of our service area. As far north as Adrian, Michigan, as far south now into the Hardin County area, and then east-wise, we continue to expand to the east and to the north. Been pretty popular here lately with some of our offerings and what we can do in our flexibility. But right now, we're in 13 counties across Ohio, 2 sites in Michigan, and then 2 sites in Indiana as well. So contract training, open enrollment, apprenticeships, industrial, Excel, leadership, safety, you name it. We can do it probably.
Okay.
So you are on the road a lot.
I am.
Talking to a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries.
Yep.
What are some things that you're seeing as you're out there talking to these different companies as far as workforce? Because I know locally we continue to hear workforce is a huge issue. And we'll get down to the Fostoria local market. I'm funneling you down.
Sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So let's take a broader scope look and look at kind of the region at this point. What are you seeing?
Overarching, probably if we're talking industrial maintenance when we go in, the number one ask is electricity from the start. Base level electrical knowledge. If you don't have the basics of electricity, it's going to be hard to move on to controllers, PLCs, and automation and whatnot. So if we start there, on the maintenance side, it's electricity. If you get into more of an operator, some machining, or a mechanical focus, what's been shocking within the last probably 6 to 9 months is precision measurement, calipers, micrometers, shop math, what used to be in the high schools 15, 20, 25 years ago, which was removed, but shop math, metric to standard, fractions to decimals, all those conversions, that's missing. That's been a huge ask here lately. And print reading and symbols, that's been another one. We've probably created, I'd say, a good dozen customized course outlines for companies that range anywhere from 8 hours in length to up to 16 hours. So those two that was probably been the most surprising within the last 6 months. But overall, it always starts with electricity on the maintenance side. And then we go in through different avenues of controls, automation, mechanical, as we weave in and out of what their needs are. Okay. That's from overarching what we see. If you just stay, I guess if you move to maybe an Excel, that's probably our number one requested class across all sectors. Microsoft Excel 1. We get some Word, but Excel's been probably the most requested. And then leadership, it's broad. It's very broad. We see it, and I think that's why I know you want to talk about tech cred later on as we move through this, but that's...
How do you know we want to talk about tech cred?
Well,
he pumped me for information prior to recording.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Okay. The betrayal.
When you go in and do a sales call, you got to kind of have an idea what you're going for. So that's got a little information from Sarah.
He got a little behind the scenes.
You got to do your research. You got to know what you're...
You bullied her.
I did not.
She looks intimidated.
No.
It was very scary. He sat in my office door and he wouldn't let me leave until I gave him the scoop.
Okay, please continue.
The lies, right? The lies.
No,
anyway.
It's broad. It is very broad with leadership training. That's one of the reasons. Safety, leadership, those two. It's all based upon the culture of a company.
Yeah.
It really is. You're never going to have something that's just a canned option with that. So whenever we go in, you just sit back and listen and let them decide what they want to make. There's no magic wand out there you can wave and it just happens. It's a slow burn with leadership training and getting them to make a commitment to pick something that addresses maybe not all their needs, but what's going to get us the biggest bang for our buck, because there isn't that funding out there to offset some of those costs.
So I know for a long time companies were looking, they were constantly bringing in new hires. Mm-hmm. And there's always, a retention and turnover factor within these companies, but it sounds to me like you're seeing more and more of a need within companies to upskill their existing employees.
Correct. And if you look at the cost to hire new, to do the recruitment, to have HR interview them, the advertising for it versus the cost of training, and the ability to retain those individuals in a much longer time period, that's what we're seeing right now. Identify those operators that have been there 12 to 18 months. We see some companies do Ramsey assessments to figure out what their skill set is right now, what they're lacking, and then how we can address what you're lacking with our limited amount of training funds to be more efficient with our funding sources, so that we're not wasting money on courses that you've already excelled in or have the ability.
That makes sense.
That is what we're seeing from the maintenance and operator side.
Yeah. And you touched on funding. How are you seeing companies creatively start to fund these workforce trainings? There's some avenues out there.
I bet he mentions TechCred.
I bet he does. Yeah. But maybe there's some other things that we don't know about. Or
so
maybe we do, but we'll pretend we don't.
I'm sure you do know about them. But there's incumbent worker training funds through Ohio Means Jobs, your local Ohio Means Jobs offices. Those funds can be utilized. It kind of depended upon the county, but obviously technical training, there's only a few sectors they won't fund, but it has some stipulations with it, layoff aversion, increase in pay, or title change as a result of the training. TechCred has technical training, electrical, mechanical, all that, we know that. But then you start to dive into the computer-based courses, Adobe, the Microsofts, they'll fund that, but they won't touch on is Lean Six Sigma, safety courses, and leadership. My belief in that is all three of those, as we've talked about, are so specific to a company's culture that I think that the state's put the onus back upon the company of, okay, we're not going to fund this because this should be one of your pillars, if you will, foundational blocks to build your company upon. So what we see with companies when we talk with them is, start out with whatever your training budget is, and if you're going to apply for TechCred, now you can start to offset some of those costs where maybe you had a technical training budget. You could pull those funds out, put them into a safety category or a leadership or a Lean Six Sigma continuous improvement column and spend them more efficiently. So it essentially just lengthens their budget because it is a reimbursement grant that comes back to them. So that's what we're recommending and when we talk to companies.
So if nobody has ever heard of TechCred before, explain the Reader's Digest version. What is TechCred?
techcred.ohio.gov. It's through the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation. It's a funding source, reimbursement grant for technical training topics. It is open 6 times a year, every other month. May, which we're currently in, is an open round. July will be the next open round. What we do with companies is we go in and do a needs assessment for those companies that have never applied. We have staff that schedule virtual meetings with them. They help them apply for the first time. In doing that, generally it's 6 to 8 weeks. The company will find out later that they've been approved of their funding request, up to $30,000 per funding round, $2,000 per credential per employee.
So if a company were to apply for the full amount every time it opens in a year for 6 months, reimbursable funds to offset training costs.
Correct. So 6 rounds, $30,000, $180,000 a year. They would be eligible for technical training topics.
Okay, so you're very busy. You know your workforce training. Tell us a little bit, how did you get to your position? What led you here? Because clearly Renee remembers you from when you worked for the Boy Scouts. I think I remember when you were with Northwest State and there was a partnership with OMJ. You did a short stint with us.
Yep.
And then as Renee would say, you abandoned us, but we still get to see you. You still help us tremendously. But tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up with Custom Training Solutions.
Sure. Went to Tiffin University. Got a degree in communications, a focus in public relations. Started out in their sports information department, did that for 4 years. Left that, went to the Black Swamp Area Council in the Exploring program to target high school youth and drive them into workforce development programs, essentially, like the name was, exploring what different career opportunities were out there through hands-on engagement with local organizations, 13 county service area there. After that, I enjoyed doing that. That's where I really got the taste of workforce. Coming out of Tiffin University, it was just such a siloed area. You do sports, and you're writing it, you're broadcasting it, a lot of time on the road, and a lot of time by bus, which was extremely difficult. I call the minor league life of you're just bouncing around, you're doing the broadcasting from city to city. So it was a lot of late nights there. But really getting the taste of workforce and understanding what the market was asking for, what local companies were asking for, and then them getting the understanding of, okay, we're going to run this youth workforce program. It may not pay dividends in the next 6 months, but it could in the next 3 to 4 years, depending upon whatever their post was, if you will, their subject. Then I was approached by Northwest State about an opportunity that was similar to Exploring, but more so with industrial topics. So with the weldings, the constructions, automotive training, to drive at-risk youth, what we call out-of-school and in-school youth. So essentially ages 16 to 24, drive them, low skill, no skill, underemployed, unemployed populations, to raise them up utilizing CCMEP, Comprehensive Case Management and Employment, dollars to bring them up. So that's where I got affiliated with you all, more so in the Learning Center and utilizing the welding facility to run programming. After that, I came here and worked with the both of you.
It was
there
your
at the
best
Learning
job
Center.
ever, wasn't
Yep.
it? Yes.
It altered the trajectory of your life. I know it did.
It did. I learned a lot when I was here.
course you did.
It's always been, as you guys know, I've always been very restless.
Which is why you abandoned
The
us.
sitting, no, it wasn't the
It's fine. You can say it.
It wasn't the reason. I'm still coming back here
I know we still see you
pretty
multiple times
frequently.
a week.
Yes. So it wasn't. I'm a very restless individual. Sitting still and me have a very difficult relationship. I do travel a lot, which I do enjoy because you get to see so many different things that you would never think of. One day you could be at a little manufacturer of 40 employees, and the next day you could be at a place that employs 2,000 people plus. And in the sectors, it's we've been in food producers, glass producers, the automotive industry. It's such a wide area on the manufacturing side, and then you get to see some things when you start to deal with other industries in the medical field. That's been very eye-opening, and understanding that just because they are in the medical field doesn't mean they don't have maintenance personnel. And then also dealing with municipalities, understanding what their training needs are. I think those are some untapped markets that we've done a good job in understanding that you can't just silo them. There's operations people at hospitals or municipalities that if they aren't there, the lights aren't coming on. And that's pretty important. So we've really taken a vested interest here lately in diversing and going out and hitting those other areas. So it has been a very interesting path to get here. It's not traditional by any means, but when you start out, and if you want to call it selling or sales, but when you start out and trying to convince high school students why they should go to this career opportunity with a local manufacturer once a month, that's you talk about cutting your teeth. Something that's kind of scary is when you're in a high school lunchroom and you've got to try to convince students who are looking at you like, who's this idiot walking around? I mean, it was difficult. It was about, you want to talk about when you hit that door, you have got to just throw all caution to the wind, and you just got to tell yourself, these people may never see me again. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to talk to every single person in this lunchroom. I'm going to tell them what I'm here for and why they should do it. And if they laugh at me, they may not ever see me again. That's why I tell my boss, Jim Dravis, I'm like, you want to talk about scary sales position. That was, in the beginning, it was very intimidating. So,
Scarier than Renee?
as scary.
Wow. Thanks. Okay, so let's bring this back to the local level, because here at the Fostoria Learning Center, would like to have it on record that I feel we have a tremendous relationship with Northwest State and CTS. And so would you, since you're the guest, like to talk about the relationship that the entities have with each other?
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly with you. This is a great facility. We're fortunate enough to be down here offering courses. It's just a great facility to be in. It's very welcoming. It's centrally located amongst Hancock, Wood, and Seneca counties. It's a great meeting space for local organizations. Maybe they're not doing training with us. Maybe they have their own internal trainings. They can rent rooms at this facility, take full advantage of that. We're very fortunate, CTS and Northwest State, to be down here and be able to utilize this facility, because without it, everything would be on site. 90% of what we do is on site at manufacturers, but that other 10%, without a facility here, we aren't able to do that. Most companies, the trend is to offer it on site at their facility, but there's others that are still out there that recognize, if I don't get this person out of here, this training is not going to be beneficial to them, because they're going to be on their radio constantly, because they're just going to get pulled out. So we see companies do that frequently, come here and utilize the Learning Center alongside us, but also to offer open enrollment, to have an opportunity, because there are smaller shops here in town in Fostoria that don't have the 80 to 150 people, and they can't afford to have the 5 to 7 people off the floor. So us being able to offer open enrollment courses here to a wide swath of organizations is a great benefit to us, to be able to showcase what we can do and showcase the Learning Center, but also to those organizations, because they now have an opportunity to send maybe 1 or 2 people out to this training, when before I highly recommend, my objective is to utilize tech cred funds to the best of our ability. I always recommend, if you're going to go for a 3-day class for us, 4 is your minimum number. I talk to companies about that very frequently. My objective is to keep this at that threshold or under that threshold for you. And for me to do that, for it to be on site during times you want, that's just something we're going to have to do. So having this facility here to offer open enrollment courses that are, the dates are set, the times are set, and they have to kind of acquiesce to what we're bringing to them. That's what open enrollment provides here at this facility, but also to have the contract training side of, now I'm on the other side, they tell me what they want, where they want, when they want, and we can still utilize this facility as that. So we're very fortunate to be here. Very happy and grateful you guys would welcome us in to be able to offer these courses here.
Well, from the Learning Center perspective, we appreciate the ongoing partnership. We view it as a real win-win scenario, and it's always a pleasure to work with you, Matt, and Jim. But I would also like to give you the opportunity, because I understand that Northwest State has been named, is it number 1?
I think it is.
And
yes.
so I'd like to give you that opportunity to,
Sure.
sing your own praises.
I appreciate it. We were the number 1 ranked community college in the state of Ohio. Very, very grateful for that. In my position in working with CTS as a division or a wing of Northwest State, it is a unique dynamic where we blend in on the 4-credit side and the non-credit. That's what I specialize in, on the non-credit side. There's a lot of pieces and parts and people that go on behind the scenes that never get seen, maybe never get that praise, from instructors that are out in the field to the operations behind it. I mean, this training, what we do, doesn't happen if I don't have a Nicole Hand and they're putting stuff on a calendar. If I don't have a Tori Atkinson helping out with putting stuff on a calendar, invoicing, all those people that are behind the scenes, they may not get the praise always, but without them, we don't operate and function as a division of Northwest State. And if the foundation hadn't been laid by a Tom Wiley and then transitioned that to Jim Dravis, my boss, and what he's done, and having the foresight, but also the flexibility and kind of the hands-off approach to kind of just let go of the reins and turn me loose, that I really appreciate that, because I've worked for other bosses where they've held the reins tight on you, and it's, I call it calendar watching. They always want to know what you're doing, when you're doing. I've always been a very motivated individual. I don't need someone to put the spurs to me, so to speak. You tell me what needs done, it's going to get done, and I've always appreciated what Jim has done with that, and his ability and foresight to understand what the market is going to want, when it's going to want it, but also to really make CTS take the approach of, we're going to be customer focused, because we have to be. Because at the end of the day, if either of you go to a restaurant and you order something and they say, I'm sorry, you can't have it, that doesn't get served till 8 a.m. or it doesn't get served till lunchtime, 12:30. You're probably not going to be very happy. So that's what my objective has been with training, is that, hey, if you want it offered 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. like we do for some customers, first of all, up front, I'll tell you there is a premium. You're going to pay for it. And if you're okay with that, then let's do it. I'm perfectly fine with that. Or if you want it, hey, I want this course, but I can't do 3 days in a row. But I can do 3 Wednesdays in a row. Let's do it. I mean, that whatever we can do to make it as flexible and accessible to that population of manufacturers that are maybe a little bit smaller, or maybe just can't have people off the floor that long, that's what we should do. That's what a community partner should do from a sales perspective. That's customer service. That's always been my approach, is accessibility, affordability, and relevant topics that can be customized to meet a company's specific needs. Drill down on the learning objectives, hit those, and make them feel that not only the training they got was of quality that they wanted, but it's get them in, get them back to work, and then help them be more productive. What are you having downtime for? Let's address it. Let's move on and skill up your people so that you're more profitable. Ultimately, they will become more profitable as well.
So you guys are growing exponentially. And what are your kind of pain points in growing?
It's always it's hardware, manpower, like companies that are out there now. You've spoken about, Renee. Workforce is always an issue. It is on our side as well. With what we're looking for, we have open positions available as instructors. I don't need a college degree on my side of the aisle. What I'm looking for is individuals that have industry experience. If we're going to focus on industrial courses, journey person's card, 15, 20 years of experience in the field in industrial maintenance, that have the personality that they want to give back and they want to pass that knowledge on. I've got some great instructors. Some of the older ones they're some of my favorite, just because some of the knowledge that they can pass on that you're not going to find in a textbook. That's one thing we've really pressed upon the local population of manufacturers in my service area and across our 13 county area. We're a 90-10 hands-on versus book work. This student manual is only going to get you so far. It's not a magic wand, poof, your machine's fixed. But having some instructors that have 35, 40 years of industry experience, they've probably seen the same things that current industrial maintenance professionals are seeing now. Maybe they have a little trick of the trade that got them through back in 1988 that they can hand to this current maintenance person. Bill Torok is a great example of that. He said when an old maintenance person dies, he said a library closes. And I thought it was very profound of him to say that, because there is a lot of knowledge that leaves every day. So what we're looking for is to capture that knowledge, capture those individuals that have that personality that want to instruct. From the adjunct position, adjuncts have some of the greatest flexibility of any of the employees at Northwest State. The ability to say, you know what, the perch you're hitting, I can't do it today. I can't teach that class. Okay, well, I appreciate it. Move on to the next adjunct. So our teachers can say yay or nay to a course they want to teach. I take some on sales calls with me. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it goes with their schedule, and it doesn't. So from a full-time perspective, same thing. No degree is required, but we're looking for heavy industrial experience on the electrical, mechanical, controls, or automation side. So that's what we're looking for. And we'll even take it, Excel, leadership, safety, EHS personnel that may have retired that have those qualifications want to come back and teach safety courses. I am all ears. I am welcome and open to talk with anyone who has the drive and want to come back and pass on their knowledge and skills to the next generation.
Welcome and open, huh?
I am. It doesn't mean I'm going to hire everybody, but it means I'm welcome and open to have conversations.
I saw the light bulb go off, and I'm like, oh, she's going to come back at you on that one.
Just wanted to emphasize that.
Yep.
Yes.
I am. I'm always open to conversations. It's not a binding contract by any means, but I will sit and listen and talk to people. And that's what I do for a living, honestly, at the same time. So it's not like it's a big inconvenience to me to sit and talk with people. I'm doing it now, aren't I?
You are. Thank you. And you were just so excited to be our guest on our podcast.
You're doing a fabulous job.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
That communications background, it's really coming in handy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
No, but thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Very much appreciate the partnership with CTS and Northwest State from the learning center perspective.
We appreciate you guys having us down here. It's always been great to work with the both of you, to learn from the both of you, more so when I was in the position with the Learning Center, about the local community, about the local workforce needs, and about the facility. A lot of the stuff that no one sees.
Yeah.
No one sees when you got to do a fire inspection and all the stuff you got to go through to make sure that you pass that. No one sees that. There's just so much here at this facility that you two take upon your shoulders. I've always admired that, and I appreciate you allowing us to come here and do these courses and try to help the community out, both local community from kids' summer camps to an Industrial Electricity 1 class. So we look forward to continuing to do that and expanding upon it. And if anybody's never been to the Learning Center, I highly encourage you to come and see it, especially if you're an employer within 35 miles of Learning Center. There's no reason you shouldn't come here and see it. It is 42,000 square feet, very up to date, and
Did you offer him money to do
I did not.
Just
I did not prep any of this.
This is fantastic.
I've always been impressed
Carry
with the
on.
facility.
Carry on.
I had to know I had to know a little bit about the place if I was going to work for it. So.
I mean, he dropped the square footage, and I was like, I don't think I knew that. So
I did, but
excellent. Excellent.
impressed.
And for the record, Matt was a great staff member. He just had a great opportunity come his way from CTS, and we were very sad to see him go.
Yes.
Just on the official record. Now, do we
And-
still give him a hard time all the
And
time?
full
Of course we do.
disclosure, I mean, he did come to us on the front end and express the opportunity, and we wholeheartedly supported him.
Yes.
It was a great move for him. But because we see him so regularly, we have to use the sticks that we have to be.
Yes.
And
Because
that
it's
happens
fun to
to
give
be
Matt
one
a
of
hard
them.
time.
Yep.
And he takes it like
I
a
do.
champ.
He does take it like a champ.
And
He keeps coming back.
So,
Can't be that terrible.
I guess not. I mean, whatever. You just turn the other cheek, keep moving. I guess it's
so true.
Well,
part of life.
Your life's so hard.
But Matt, thank you so much for participating in today's episode and for sharing some of your experience and knowledge on workforce development.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So that concludes another episode of
Shut up and listen
Small Town Stories
with Sarah.
and Renee.